I think it's safe to say, over my time, I've definitely done some questionable modifications on cars. And on the face of it, what we're doing to my BMW E82 135i in this video is definitely going to fall in that category. Don't get too worried, I'm not putting Corsa wheels on it, I'm not putting a Corsa bumper or a Corsa spoiler, and I'm definitely not going to be fitting a Vauxhall Corsa exhaust. So the exterior of the car is perfectly safe, don't get yourself too worked up. And I'm definitely not going to be touching anything in the engine bay with a Vauxhall Corsa part. And that only leaves the interior of the car. Although we have done some work here already fitting this lovely carbon fibre steering wheel supplied by Darkside Composites. Not only that, we also brought the car into this decade by fitting this Apple CarPlay iDrive style screen up top on the dash, both of which I could not recommend enough. So you might be wondering, if I've got a nice flashy steering wheel and much better connectivity in the car, what else needs upgrading? And not only that, but you might also be wondering what needs upgrading that comes out of a Vauxhall Corsa. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the seats. The seats in this are just standard BMW seats. The same, to be honest with you, across most of the BMW range. Even the N135i, the slightly newer version, the N140, the M2, even the 1M, they come with very similar seats. And they're just a little bit plain and boring. They are quite nice that they're full leather and heated, so they're like well spec'd. They're not the most supportive, but they're not horrendous. They do have bolster adjustments, so they're not terrible. They just look a bit drab. Now we've got that established, before I show you exactly what I've bought, let's get these old ones out. The first thing to do is disconnect the battery to try and give yourself a better chance of not having an airbag warning light. You may notice the bubble wrap down the side here. I'm still waiting for parts from BMW to finish off the 1M boot floor. So as soon as they're here, I'll make sure I get that sorted. I don't know how important it is that I actually do that, given that I know I'm going to have a problem with the airbag light anyway, but we'll come back to that later in the video. Let's get these seats out. Getting seats out of a car is normally a pretty easy task, to be honest with you. You normally got a bolt on each corner down there in the rail, and also a plug underneath the seat to disconnect the electrics. And then it's time to start taking out the 4 T50 bolts in each seat. Again, it couldn't be much easier, but access sometimes isn't the best, so you do need to move the seat around in order to get to all of these bolts. With all of those disconnected, I can then get under the seat to have a look at the wiring, and the sort of plug on this one, there is just a tab which you pull out on the side which releases the plug, which couldn't be much easier. Sometimes they can be a bit fussy. And then probably the trickiest part, manhandling the seat out of the car without scraping one of the rails against my fresh paintwork. You've got to be a little bit careful doing this. And then, you guessed it, repeat exactly the same for the passenger side. Now, I did mention earlier I wasn't sure whether disconnecting the battery was even worth me doing on this, because I'm 99% sure at this point that I'm going to get a warning light on the dash because the seats I'm fitting are not out of a BMW. They were about the easiest seats I've ever removed. Even the electrical connector was a dream. If anyone wants to buy these seats, do let me know. I've got my email address and my Instagram in the description. I'd say they're pretty good condition, so they're probably worth putting in someone's car. And I've also got kind of the original bumpers, side skirts, bonnet, wings, and a bunch of other parts from doing the 1M conversion that I need to get rid of. So if you're interested in any of that, let me know. Now we can take a look at the seats that I've got to fit in the BMW 1 Series. The only thing is they're not here. On this unquestionably dreary day, I've got to take the Aston Martin over to my mum and dad's to swap it for the van, which has the seats inside, which we can then fit in the car. And speaking of unquestionably dreary days, today I am another year older and my hairline has took another step back. But if you guys could do me the blessing of smashing on that subscribe button, I would really appreciate that as a little birthday gift. So there is our cake secured and also the seats secured. Let's get back and check them out. are these not the nicest thing to ever come out of a Vauxhall Corsa? So what we have here is Corsa VXR Nürburgring Edition Recaro seats. And don't worry, you can ignore the little dots on them. It's raining outside and I had to bring them from the van in here, so those little dots are just a little bit of moisture, so that'll dry out, no problems. And I think they need a good clean anyway, to be honest with you, so I'll definitely get that done very soon. But for now, our job is getting them in the car. But I genuinely think for a road car, these are one of the nicest seats. They give that kind of club sport spec, and they come in all sorts of cars, but I think they're cheapest out of the Corsa. And not only that, I've also just seen that they have the correct plug-on for my BMW E82 and a BMW TMEI, whatever that is. I think it's just some sort of signal box, but I don't know exactly what it does. But do I just plug it in and hope for the best? Because I didn't see the car that these came out of. I bought them from my mate who put them in his M3 E92, and he supposedly got them out of an E82. So do I just plug this in and hope for the best, or is it going to blow an airbag? Anyway, I think they are the perfect choice for the car. They should give enough bolster support. They look really sporty. You can still get in and out the back of the car, because obviously they came out of a Corsa, so they've got the kind of the release to bring them forward so people can get in the back. These seats are also very similar to ones that come out of a particular model of BMW. I can't remember if it's the 1M or the 135i or an M car, but they are very similar. I'll put a photo of them on screen now. You'll see exactly what I mean, but they're about £6,000 and these cost me £500. So I think it's definitely a much better price for something like this. And also the fact they have that little Nürburgring emblem in the headrest and no Vauxhall or VXR logos in them. It sort of seems fitting, because when me and Matt went to the Nürburgring, all that was there was BMW M cars everywhere. So it almost seems like the home of the M car. Hopefully now you guys can see the method in my madness. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get them fitted, and then I'll come back to that airbag wiring thing in a minute. Before sticking those lovely fresh seats in, a good hoover out is needed to get rid of all of the old manky McDonald's chips from down the side of the seats. This is something that I do every single time that I take a seat out. You may as well. As soon as that was done, I can start putting the new seats in place. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I got these off my friend who had them fitted to his E92 M3 BMW. Now, he actually bought them off someone who had them fitted in a E82 BMW, so the holes were already pre-drilled in the standard Corsa D rails to fit into the BMW. So all you have to do to fit these directly into the car is drill 2 holes in the backs of the rails. But luckily, as I said, that's already done for me. So once all 8 of the bolts were in, the seats were then secured in the car. But the question is then what to do with the wiring. Do I chance it and plug them in, or do I just settle with having a warning light on the dash and leave them as they are? Well, we all know me, I'm a bit of a risk taker, so they had to get plugged in. I'm definitely praying this is going to work, because with airbags it's definitely got some potential to go wrong. Okay, the seats are in and they are looking sick. I've just decided to plug the plug in and hope for the best, because I've gone in the group chat and asked the question, what's the worst that can happen, and the airbag master himself reckons there's no possible way they can go off. So yeah, let's see what happens. Dubiously, I reconnected the battery and hopped into the driver's seat to see if 1, the airbag light was going to be on, and 2, whether the airbags would go off. I think I might have blown a fuse. Obviously, I'm kidding. Let's get back to the video. Okay, an airbag light came on but then turned off. It's bad news, but not all bad news. Well, it's good news and bad news at the same time. The airbags didn't go off, which is good news, but unfortunately, the airbag and the seat belts lights are on the dash, so I've got to try and find a way now to get those off. Let's go try the seats out now. Let's go see how they feel in the car. Let's go and see how my 135i drives with Corsa VXR seats. So first impressions on the seats, they do sit a little bit higher than what the old ones did, but I don't think that's necessarily such a bad thing. There is only one downside that I can see so far, and that's the handbrake. It just catches that bolster ever so slightly, which is a little bit annoying, but you don't use it while you're driving the car. It's only when you pull up and when you leave, so it's not the end of the world. And the fact that I've saved myself £5.5 grand over the cost of those other BMW seats, I'm still calling it a big win. But in regards to the comfort, they sit a little bit firmer, but the bolsters hold you really, really nicely. They just feel that bit more sporty, which is exactly what I wanted. But let's go and see if we can sort these warning lights out on the dash. I've already plugged the car into a diagnostics tool, and it came up saying it's only the driver's side which has a fault, which means that the passenger side is working fine and all the electrics are cool. So that would mean probably that at one point the driver's side was the same. I thought it might be worth then just pulling up the driver's seat and having a bit of a look to see what I could find, and I've come across this. I've got the seat out now, and here is the wiring that's broken. And what they've done, it goes from the BMW plug, which they've obviously wired in, where it is yellow and brown at the bottom, which then goes into blue and brown, which will be the original Corsa wiring, which has obviously got caught in the seat rail and broken, and then it comes up the seat here and into the airbag. So I'm hoping putting those wires back together, re-insulating them, fitting it back to the car, plugging it back in and clearing the codes is going to fix it. If I can get the airbag and seatbelt light off by doing this simple little fix, it will be such a massive win, because that'll make these seats, in my opinion, an absolute bargain. So I'll strip back the wires, match them back up, insulate them and hope for the best. Let's see if that does the trick. I've twisted and taped it, which I know isn't the best idea, but it's all I've got, so it'll have to do. So let's try that in the car and see if it's cleared the airbag fault. That colour looks sick in here. I've not bolted the seat in. We've got Finn here for emotional support. Let's just see when that's plugged in if the airbag light's still on. In short, I think so, yeah. Not all hope is lost. We still have one more thing we can try. We can reset the codes and then see if it will stay off after that. We've just cleared the fault code for the airbag warning that was on the car, and hoping now that that is going to fix it. What are we thinking, boys?
It's not came back. Okay. So technically it should have fixed it. There's only one way to find out.
Turn it on and Finn's going to get yeeted when the airbag goes off.
Get ready for a rude awakening, Finn.
You've got to move, mate. Shift. Well, are you going to press the button?
Hi, Chris.
Okay. It's not on. I'm calling it a success.
Mechanic!
Yes.
Mechanic! Yes, I!
Mechanic! Feeling lucky, I then thought it'd be a good idea to try and clear the rest of the fault code stored on the dash. The next one, which I thought was down to the tracking, but it turns out it's actually the steering angle sensor, which needed calibrating.
Give it a start up and we'll see whether any lights are on.
You got to put your foot on the clutch.
Yeah.
Oh, go on then.
Well, you're going to knock it into gear, mate, and it's just going to end badly. It's just a bad idea, isn't it? Like, some people need to grow up. Wow, these seats are phenomenal. Right. Still on. We need to reset the code. Do we need to reset the code?
Let's have a look. Diagnostic, auto scan. Might not even be plugged in. Yeah, it's passed, bruv.
It's passed?
Yeah, everything's passed with no faults.
Okay, maybe it needs driving,
Yeah, it probably would, to be fair.
Although the car was showing no codes, the lights were still on the dash, so I thought giving the wheel a few spins either way might calibrate it.
It's not plugged in, it's absent. So, steering angle sensor isn't plugged in.
Let's get a new steering angle sensor or plug it in then. By the way, this is me from the future, but we've managed to fix all the warning lights on the dash now. Since I left the unit and full locked the car, even the warning lights for the steering angle sensor have turned off. So we now have a clear dashboard. Wow! All in, the dash is looking much clearer, the seatbelt lights off, the airbag lights off, so the seat install is a big win. Liam, review the seats quickly, 3, 2, 1.
Fantastic.
I rate them. I'm pretty sure it'd be relatively easy to do if you wanted to buy ones that aren't from a Corsa and put them in this car. Make sure you subscribe. See you next time. Bye.